little child, I was all about art and phys ed in school. I didn't actually like math that much because I was really quite poor at memorizing my multiplication tables, and it stressed me out. And then in about grade 4, we learned about long division, and then everything changed because I loved solving problems and doing, like, having time to sit and do all this, calculations and things. So after that, I became interested in math. I still wasn't great at school. I was kind of like I was an average reader, slow to sort of come to speed with things. But then by high school, I started to hit my stride. And then I really focused on, I tried to do art and phys ed because I liked those things. But in our program in Canada, you had to kind of specialize. So then I did all the sciences and math. And from there, decided that I would go into biochemistry in university. So I started at McMaster University, which I picked because it was a problem-based university versus just sort of rote memorization, which, as I discovered, I'm not strong at. And then, let's see, I graduated way back in, I put in a year, 1996, when there's a bit of a recession. So I decided I would move to the US with my partner at the time for a year or two. 9 years later, we finally moved to London. And at that stage, I'd been working actually in pharmaceuticals. So I got a job at a contract research organization, and I loved doing that because we were doing clinical trials and FDA filings, and it was really interesting. And then I moved to Johnson & Johnson and kept that job when I moved to London. And at some stage, I realized that I was kind of bumping up as far as I could go without either having an MD or an MBA. And so even though I was interested in MD, I realized that I'm not a big fan of those hours. I'll try this MBA thing. And so I went to London Business School. And there, it was a 2-year program. I realized that lots of people seemed to know exactly what they wanted to do. I did not know what I wanted to do, and ended up stumbling upon a program at Elsevier, actually. They had a management program. I found this out when I decided I was going to try to learn basketball, which I did very poorly, but someone there told me at the basketball program, told me about this program at Elsevier. So I started there, worked there for, I think, 6 years. And during my course of working there, I actually was on a project overseeing the integration of a company called Colexis, which ended up being the founders, Mario, Christian, and Steve, who are eventually Digital Science. So once they were at Digital Science and they found out they were looking for people for Altmetric, they told me about the COO role. And so I applied. And I think that's where we are now. This question is probably my worst nightmare for several reasons. One, because I have a terrible memory, so I tend to forget things that I've done. Also, because I think I struggle to really take note of things I do. And I think when something happens, I'm excited and celebrate it in the moment, but then I move on to the next thing. An other bit of me, which is probably not one of my better traits, is I sort of think that anything I've done, anyone else has already done it, so it's not that impressive. But we will talk about some things. So what things I'm proud of? It is a bit of combination of personal and professional. So I am proud that I did my business degree, which again, a lot of people do. I ended up doing it through what ended up being a particularly difficult time because I ended up going through a divorce during this period. So I was not the best version of myself, but I am, I think, pleased that I was able to recognize that and kind of work through it and then use that to kind of become a more comfortable person today. I think alongside of that, I'm also pleased that I've moved several different countries. Moving a lot has been challenging because you don't have that nice, strong friend base, but on the upside, you have friends in many, many different countries. And it's interesting and enlightening to live in different places and really experience life in different places. And then what else? Of course, I have a new dog now, and so he's the light of my life at the moment, in addition to my partner, of course. But yes, I think that's it for achievements for me. It's probably all I can say about myself and not be completely uncomfortable. So I could probably talk about people who have inspired, have been role models for me for probably about half an hour or so. I've been really fortunate, I think, to work with a lot of really great and fascinating people. Uh, I don't think that I've ever had a single, like, this is the person that I want to model my life after. But started very early on, I think in my very first job, when I worked at the pharmaceutical organization, the contract research organization. I was exposed to a lot of really great people, and also one person who I thought was a very poor person to work with. So I learned a lot early on about what I wanted to be and what I didn't want to be. And I had, there was the medical director there, Carolyn Cedor, a woman in regulatory affairs, Diana, and then a couple PhDs, Stephen Brand and Nick Kenny. I don't know if I need to name names, but in case they happen to see this, I'd like them to know, Doreen Gretsch. And I think the thing that all of them had in common were that they were one, very thoughtful people. And I don't mean just they were kind and considerate, but they were very good at thinking thoroughly about things and really considering different options and what they knew and what they didn't know, and kind of thinking about it holistically. On top of that, something that I think has always been important to me is that they valued me, even though I was, I think, like 22 at the time. And they gave me responsibility. They had serious discussions with me, and it didn't matter to them what level people were. If they were part of the team, they were contributing, and they would be involved. And I think that's continued throughout my career. Those are the people I look up to. So at Elsevier, I worked with a man called Jay Katzen, who was my official mentor at the company, and he was likewise the same. And then at Digital Science, we have loads of great people. As you know, you and Addy, who's the founder of Altmetric, is a delight to work with, and I really miss him. And then now that I've sort of have people reporting to me, I find it's people who that I am responsible for who I actually admire. So people like Sarah Rue, who have left, and Tracy Flashman, who's currently at the company, are all just fabulous people to work with, and are really, they're all unique personalities, but they're comfortable in what they do, and they have their strong beliefs. And again, they try to be very thoughtful. And so that's kind of what I look for in people to mold myself after and try and kind of pay attention to.